Welcome back to Important Library Stuff, a podcast where library staff share the inside scoop on all the stuff that happens at Prince William Public Libraries. And trust us, it's a lot of stuff. I'm your host, Emily Bickers, media specialist from the Office of Communications and Marketing, and I am joined each episode by fellow staff members and special guests who know a lot more on each episode's topic than I do, which for this episode is Summer Scares. Today, I'm not only joined by Summer Scares programmers Jeanine Hines and Matt McCleland from Haymarket Gainesville Library, but we'll also be hearing from 2026's Summer Scares spokesperson and New York Times bestselling author Jennifer McMahon a little later in the episode. For listeners who may not know, what is the Summer Scares program?
So hi, thank you for having me. Summer Scares is a reading program from the Horror Writers Association in partnership with Book Riot, Booklist, Novelist, and iRead, which provides libraries and schools with an annual list of recommended horror titles from adult, young adult, and middle grade readers. It helps start conversations extending beyond the selected titles and promotes lifelong learning.
Awesome. What have been some of your favorite memories from past Summer Scares now that we've had 2 prior years?
Well, I think Matt and I will probably agree that having Clay, McLeod, Chapman come to Haymarket Gainesville during the first, inaugural system-wide Summer Scares was a big hit. Having him was just so much fun. He was so generous, and it just gave us a starting point from which we're like, we've got to have so many more authors. This is such a fun thing to do for not only us, but our patrons, and to spread the love of horror. And also, as the youth services librarian, every year we have Halloween in July, a story trail, and everybody comes and dresses up in their costumes in July. I mean, how fun is that? And this year we will be doing a dino-themed Halloween in July because it's dinosaurs for summer reading. So we're combining the two, and it's going to be fun.
One of the programs that I've really enjoyed is the horror trivia night at one of our local breweries in Haymarket, Great Maine Brewery. We've been told that it gets the largest participation of any of the trivia nights per year. So we're looking forward to this year. It's going to be Wednesday, July 22nd at 7:00 p.m. It's our 3rd annual horror trivia night, and we will, like we've done the last few years, be giving away copies of the adult picks from Summer Scares to the winning teams. So we want to see a lot of participation, a lot of people coming out to answer some really amazing horror questions, and just celebrate Summer Scares and horror in the middle of the summer where it doesn't necessarily always belong in October. It's for year round. So we love to see people come out and show their love for horror.
And we have had people come to that trivia they're like, we come to the horror trivia.
Yep.
And then then there are people that show up just for regular trivia and it's horror, and that kind of spreads the word too,
Yep.
A panel of authors, including Jennifer McMahon, and library workers around the country helped choose a reading list of 9 titles, 3 in each age group, and I'm going to list them off quickly. Adult selections include A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock, Never Whistle at Night, edited by Shane Hawk and Theodore C. Van Alst, and May Fly by C.J. Lead. The young adult picks are What We Harvest by Anne Freistadt, Gorgeous Gruesome Faces by Linda Cheng, and Our Shadows Have Claws, edited by Yamil Saeed Mendez and Amparo Ortiz. Last but not least, the middle grade selections, about ages 8 to 11, are Garlic and the Vampire by Bree Paulson, It Came from the Trees by Ali Russell, and This Appearing House by Ali Melanenko. So 6 of the 9 picks are for kids and teens. Why should every young reader try thrilling genres like horror or suspense if they haven't already?
Well, I mean, first of all, Summer Scares is great. Like Matt said, scares are not just for October. And Summer Scares is a way to, put a lot of diverse books into kids' hands because they already love reading scary books. And summer is a great time for it because there's no pressure for school. There's no, reading of anything else that they have to do. So it's a great time to explore.
I have a son who's 16, and as he was growing up, it was important for him to find the things that he was interested in on his own. But I was always there to, answer questions or to support whatever he was doing. And I found that when it comes to horror for children and teens, that reading a story or watching a movie where they watch someone faced with something scary and then they watch as they find the solution or overcome it is really, really valuable for kids growing up. I think it's important for them to see that. And when they eventually face the scary things on their own in their own lives, then they have the tools that they need to be able to work through it. And I think that's what the horror genre can provide for kids, is kind of a blueprint on what to do whenever you're faced with some things that are scary.
There's just so much out there in the middle grade genre available. I mean, if you look at the 3 picks for this year, you've got this sweet little Garlic and the Vampire, and then you've also got, It Came from the Trees, which is Bigfoot. I mean, who doesn't love Bigfoot when you're a kid? And then another one that's, more about a scary house and grief. But so you've got like Matt was talking about, there's something in there for everybody. Get started with.
We're now joined by Jennifer McMahon, spokesperson of the Summer Scares program this year and author of 12 novels, including The Winter People, Promise Not to Tell, and her latest, My Darling Girl. Why did you choose to write a ghost story for your first novel, Promise Not to Tell?
Oh, that's such a good question. So the truth is my first published novel was actually the 4th novel I wrote. And my earlier 3 novels were sort of what I felt I should be writing, having studied poetry and in college and then gone on to an MFA program. My first 3 novels were sort of very literary and character driven. And honestly, they were really boring. And then, they didn't really go anywhere. There wasn't a lot happening. And when I sat down to write book 4, the book that would become Promise Not to Tell, I asked myself the question that I should have asked myself all along, which is, what is the book I most want to read? And the answer was loud and clear, a ghost story, because I grew up loving all things horror and loving the creepy stuff and loving ghost stories and loving monsters and loving the things that go bump in the night. And and it just made sense that that's the book that I would write. And why not write what you love? So I sat down and I wrote my ghost story, and it became my first published novel. And I've been lucky enough to be writing creepy novels ever since.
That's amazing. It's funny you say, you write what you love, because on your website, you mentioned you have your awesome mantra tattooed on your wrist, write what scares you. So there's some overlap there.
Absolutely. So yeah, again and again in like college and grad school and writing workshops, you hear write what you know, write what you know. And my own twist on that has always been write what scares you, because I think for me personally, that's where all the good stuff is hiding, is when I look at my own fears and when I dare to kind of put them out on paper and sort of, name them and poke at them with long sticks and walk around them and say, what's your deal, fear? What do you have to teach me? Why am I afraid of you? Where do you come from? What is this power that you have over me? So that's where all the good stuff is. And at the heart of every single one of my books, it's really one of my fears. I get to take my own fears and share them with the world. And it's pretty wonderful.
Do you find when you write about them, you become more scared by it or less scared? Like it kind of lets you conquer them?
I think I become less scared, sometimes more scared. I totally freak myself out when I'm writing. I scare myself when I'm writing. There was one scene in my book, The Winter People, that involved a closet that I've been afraid of closets ever since. And it just helps me understand them and understand myself sometimes and understand maybe where the fears come from. And, reading and writing horror kind of puts me in control. I'm in the driver's seat. I can say what's too much, and I can kind of explore and figure out where this comes from and what my reaction to it is. And I can, if something's freaking me out too much, I can pull back and go, whoa, okay, that's enough for right now. I need to take a break before I explore this anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. How do settings shape stories? I know you often have like small towns or really eerie environments.
Yeah, I love settings. I feel like I treat setting like a character of its own. I actually do a character study for setting, and I will ask the set. When I have a character in my books, I do I spend a lot of time getting to know the character, including my setting, and I do interviews. So I'll interview the setting, so it's sort of personified, and I'll ask it the same kind of questions I ask my characters. Like, what are you hiding? What's your biggest secret? What are you afraid of? So yeah, I see it like that. And I think that a setting is there. It is like an ever-present thing in the novel that is affecting the characters in the way that they may not even understand. And yeah, setting is super important. And for the most part, my books so far have been set in Vermont. That could be changing soon. Maybe we'll see. We shall see. I've been in Florida for the past 4 years. So people keep asking, where's your Florida horror novel, Jennifer? And perhaps that's coming. We'll see. But yeah, I love the dark, creepy woods. I love exploring the creepy side of places, especially the creepy side of sort of picturesque, beautiful places and places that people look at and think, oh, nothing scary could happen here. And then you start peeling back the layers and showing the darkness peeking through from underneath. I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Were you a library user growing up? And what is your history with libraries?
Oh my gosh, I loved the library when I was a kid. It was everything to me. It was my sanctuary. It was kind of the place that I could escape to, both literally and figuratively. It was and still is, I think, like walking into this magical realm full of portals. Like each book you pick up could take you anywhere. And what other place is there that has that magic? There isn't any other place. Yeah, it really is magic. And I actually have a fun library story. When I was in third grade, I grew up a monster obsessed kid. And I went into the public library and found a book on the shelves all about werewolves. And the book was supposedly true, and it was full of werewolf lore. And at the end of the book, there was a spell in it for how to become a werewolf. And I was like, this is totally true. This is so exciting. I am going to do this. I'm going to do this spell. I'm going to go full on monster, thanks to my library, because I found this book in the library and it has to be true. So I went out in the woods on the next full moon and I did the spell, and I wanted so desperately to change and to go full on monster. And it didn't really happen. I don't think anyway. I'm not sure.
But I understand if you don't want to disclose it on a podcast too.
Yeah, that's true. But I had to go creeping back to my bedroom, still a normal kid, and get up in the morning and eat my Cheerios and go to school and all that. But so libraries were super important to me when I was a kid. It just like sparked my imagination in every possible way. And I mean, throughout my life, they've been important. They play such an important role in communities. When I was a new mom and I had my daughter at home, I took her to the library to every children's programming they had the whole time she was growing up. And that's where we made a lot of our friends. We made such great connections, and it kept me sane, like having a place to go and to chat with other moms and to put her down at the train table and have her sing the songs of the programming. It was such a great thing. And these days, anytime I move to a new place, the first thing I do is go and get a library card and check out the library. And I love our town library where I'm living now. I go there quite a bit. And sometimes I just like to go and bring my laptop and work because it's just such a quiet sort of sanctuary.
That's awesome. So what drew you to participate in the Summer Scares program this year?
Oh, I was so excited to be asked to participate in the Summer Scares program. Becky Stratford, librarian extraordinaire, reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in being spokesperson. And she told me about the program, and I was so thrilled and honored that she asked me. I just love the mission of the program, getting more horror into readers' hands and promoting the genre and getting conversations going about it. I think that there are a lot of people who are kind of timid about horror, and they may have maybe preconceived notions about what horror is and isn't. And it's my hope that Summer Scares might help change some of those notions. And I'm thrilled. It's been such an exciting process, the whole thing, being along for this wild ride. We started last summer, and it's just been such an exciting process. And I am super psyched to go out and be talking about these books and sharing horror with the world.
On that, so what themes do you hope readers take away from the Summer Scares reading list this year?
Oh my gosh, there are so many themes. The big thing I hope is that people will look at the reading list and start sort of working their way through it and see the diversity that is horror today, right? There's something for everyone here, all ages and comfort levels. We've got stuff for like the hardcore fans, and we've got stuff for people who are sort of horror curious and looking to dip their toes into the water. We've got K-pop and strange funguses and plants and a theme park princess committing acts of rage and indigenous folklore and Latin American monsters. And there's just so much rich stuff in here. And I really think that horror is having this renaissance. You keep hearing that over and over, but I think this list is evidence of that for sure. And I'm really hoping that people will look at the list and start reading, and it'll get some great conversations going, and they'll want to read more.
Yeah, absolutely. Which of your own books do you think is the perfect summer read? And I understand it might be a Maybe a future Florida horror book.
Oh boy, the perfect summer read. Oh, probably not one of my winter themed books unless you want to cool off. Perfect summer read. I think maybe I would have to go with The Drowning Kind, just because it's about a creepy swimming pool that may or may not have something down in that dark water. Dun, dun, dun. And yeah, actually, when I was writing that one, I spent a lot of time swimming in really dark water and in springs and very deep lakes and things, and trying to creep myself out, imagining what was down there in the water that I couldn't see.
Yeah, super easy to do, especially if you're alone. Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
So I listened to the Books in the Freezer podcast that was Summer Scares and had you on. And I loved hearing a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. One was that you had recently gone to a book club or joined a book club, and I wanted to hear how that went.
Oh, yes, I did. I've only been once because of my schedule. So there is our library has a local horror book club, and they meet once a month. And I went once, and I absolutely loved it. And I really wanted to go last month because they were talking about the Buffalo Hunter, but I was out of town and I was so bummed. But I plan on going back. It's a very small group right now, but maybe we can get it to grow a little bit bigger. But it's just super exciting to go and meet neighbors and talk to librarians and hang out and talk about horror and just share our love of horror and share books and authors and say, hey, we're reading next month. We're going to read the Stephen Graham Jones book, and then I'm listing all the other Stephen Graham Jones books I've read and loved. I'm like, oh, you've got to read this, you've got to read that, and yeah, it's exciting.
I also loved that you were talking about the pit.
I do not like to see gross things, and I'm challenging myself to watch these scenes in the pit. That just goes back to reiterate what you talked about with how diverse the horror genre is. You being a horror author, and you're like, queasy about watching these scenes. There's just so much out there for people. And I just loved hearing that so much because I had to close my eyes a lot on the pit too. And I'm really timid about reading really gruesome horror. I'm kind of like horror light.
Yeah. No, I have to push myself because I'm very squeamish about like body horror stuff, but I find that I'm actually really enjoying reading it. I absolutely loved Maeve Fly by CJ Lead, one of our summer scares picks. And it was pretty outside my comfort zone. It was one of those books that I had to just say, she's not going to go there. She's not going to, oh, she definitely went there. And I'd have to kind of close the book and take a little walk and process what I just read and then get back into it. Yeah, I'm a kind of squeamish person, but I'm trying to get better and trying to kind of take little baby steps into the more body horror, gruesome stuff, because I'm finding that I enjoy it, but I have to do it in little doses and know my limits and then take a little break and get back to it for sure. And it's definitely like that with The Pit and any kind of like horror movie that just goes there and is all blood and guts and gore. I'm shutting my eyes and screaming and no, I can't watch this. But I'm trying. I try.
I'm the same. I just started Mayfly by CJ Lead, and I am a little unnerved and scared about where it's going. I just love horror novels that are like yours, that are more like the setting and, the creepy closets and pools and stuff. But yeah, I'm worried.
Yeah, and that is absolute. Thank you. That is the absolute beautiful thing about horror is there really is something for everyone. And someone might start out reading a book like mine. I hear from folks all the time who say, I don't do horror, I don't read scary books, but I really love your books. Mm-hmm. And I think of my books as kind of a gateway. It's like, okay, you like that. Maybe you'll like some other scary stuff. And I think that, once you sort of dip your toe in the water and realize how diverse the genre is, you might be ready to try some other stuff. You might be ready to kind of jump around and try something that kind of pushes it, like the edge of your comfort zone. And I think it's a great way to like understand yourself and your own fears and what pushes your buttons and make you feel more in control and make you sort of get the things that you're afraid of on some deeper level. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I think horror is so cathartic, right? We get to face the things we're afraid of and these monsters and these gruesome things on the page, and we survive and we come out the other side feeling kind of changed and maybe having a better understanding of ourselves. And it's such a great feeling because we don't get that in real life, but on the pages of a horror novel, we can go through this thing and battle the demon and battle the darkness and battle the monster and maybe win and come out on the other side into the light and be like, I survived that. And I feel so good. And it's really satisfying.
Tremendously.
One of my favorite things is when someone comes up to me and says, I'm not into horror. I don't read horror. I'm scared of it, but I want to try. Can you tell us what is your go-to book and or movie to recommend to somebody who is interested in trying horror for the first time?
Yeah, no, I love that. I absolutely love it. My absolute literary hero who I go back to again and again, and I recommend all the time for people is Shirley Jackson. I think she's very doable for folks. I think a lot of folks have read her short story, The Lottery, but might not know her beyond that. So I always recommend her books. All her short fiction is amazing. My very favorite book of all times probably is We Have Always Lived in the Castle. It's one of those books that I go back to and reread all the time. And she just does atmosphere and setting in this amazing way and has this incredible way of portraying what it means to be sort of an outsider or an other in a small town. And I just find her books and stories so unnerving and unsettling and wonderful. A movie, I'm going to go old school and say, watch some. When my daughter was little and growing up, she really wanted to watch scary movies, and she was pretty young. And I was like, oh, what's a scary movie? And we started with Alfred Hitchcock movies and kind of eased her way into the horror genre from Alfred Hitchcock. We didn't start with Psycho. We started with like The Birds and slowly built up. And then she was ready for Psycho, and she was pretty little and went as Norman Bates dressed as a mother when I think she was probably 9 years old. She went as dressed that way as for Halloween, and we got some funny looks from the other parents, like, she's seen Psycho? Oh my God, what are you doing to your child? Yeah, so I think that would be my recommendation.
Okay, awesome.
Both kind of oldies but goodies that I feel like you can't miss.
So with talking about your daughter and getting younger readers into the horror genre, I love that there is a middle grade section of summer scares.
Absolutely, yeah. We have 3 middle grade titles that are wonderful. We have Garlic and the Vampire by Bree Paulson, which is just this really sweet graphic novel about a bulb of garlic kind of living in this world of plants, and a vampire moves to the neighborhood, and everyone tells the garlic that she has to go and deal with the vampire because Garlic and the Vampire. And Garlic is actually really timid, and it's just such a wonderful book about being brave and about like facing your own fears and about this little insecure bulb of garlic who has to kind of find herself. And I just loved it. And then there's a Bigfoot book. It Came from the Trees by Allie Russell. So good and so fun, like summer camp nostalgia, wonderful Bigfoot. I love all things Bigfoot. So this one sucked me right in. And then we have this amazing book called Disappearing House by Ali Melanenko, about a girl who's in remission from childhood cancer. And it deals with some like deep, dark, kind of hard stuff. Yeah. And it's a house appears in town, and she has to go into the house and kind of face her own fears about remission and her own grief and her own trauma about what the sickness has done. And it's heavy, but I think that kids are ready for that. And I think it's like a powerful read for a whole family to read together, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I heard you have a new book coming out.
I do. Thank you for asking. I am so excited about this book. It is called Stay Buried, and it's coming out in August. And it is book 13, The Lucky 13. And it is the first book I have written that my publisher is calling horror. And this is so exciting for me. I feel like in my mind, I've been writing horror all along, but the publishing industry hasn't always seen that. So it's called Stay Buried. It's a folk horror novel. There are 2 storylines. There's one in 1919 where we're following Frankie, who is a young queer woman, and she's assisting her uncle, Dr. Endicott, in the small isolated town of Boone's Ferry. and there's a mysterious illness in town, and people are blaming supernatural causes. And some people are saying the devil has come to Boone's Ferry. And then we have the storyline in 2016 where a woman named Ashley and her brother Malcolm have just inherited the house of their great-grandfather, Dr. Thomas Endicott. And they go to Boone's Ferry to check out the house and soon discover it is not the quaint, idyllic place it appears to be. And there's something kind of darker going on here, and something that began back in 1919. And the more they sort of learn and unravel, the more danger they find themselves in. And I had so much fun writing this book. And I loved it. I love doing a deep dive into all things folk horror. And I'm super excited for it to be out in the world.
I'm very excited to read it, so I'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're all excited. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun. I hope folks get into the library and check out all the books. There's so much great stuff out there.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, that was so great that she was able to join us. So what programs are happening at PWPL this year to celebrate Summer Scares?
At Haymarket Gainesville, we're going to do Dare to Read, which is going to be for teens and adults. And it's going to be basically a blind date with a book version, but with a scary twist.
Yeah, looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. One that I'm very excited about is on July 17th, Haymarket Gainesville Library is hosting an after-hours horror movie viewing. We're going to be screening the 1982 horror classic Poltergeist. The film is rated PG, and it is for teens and adults. So looking forward to that.
And we, of course, will be having our Halloween in July story trail, which I mentioned before. And there might be a dino costume being worn in there somewhere.
We also might pull out the fog machine.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
It's gonna be epic, as usual.
That's awesome. There's a ton of programming this July for Summer Scares. For example, at Central Library, they are going to be visited by Old Spirit Investigations, who is going to be presenting the scariest places in Virginia and beyond on July 18th at 11 a.m. There's also a ton of crafts, felted eyeballs and dead beaded plants and creepy cross-stitch, felt tarot cards, taxidermy doll art. You can find more information on all of these programs on the online events calendar on our website at pwcva.gov/library. Since this is our third year of having the Summer Scares program going, what is your favorite horror, thriller, suspense book trilogy?
So my favorite trilogy is the Indian Lake trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones. The first book is titled My Heart is a Chainsaw, followed by Don't Fear the Reaper, and The Angel of Indian Lake finishes the series. I also love the Bill Hodges trilogy by Stephen King, Mr. Mercedes, Finders Keepers, and End of Watch.
I also love that trilogy by Stephen Graham Jones, but I'm not much of a series reader, and I think there are a lot of great horror authors that have just a lot of books and not a series or a trilogy. So I was just going to mention the two authors that I read everything that they put out, and that is Rachel Harrison and Nat Cassidy. I just relate to their topic or their characters and their subjects so much, so I love them. And I plan to read, as much as I can this summer. So. Yeah. I'm not quite as up to, the reading level of Matt in horror, but I'm dipping my toes in little by little.
That's fantastic. So any parting thoughts or tips?
Yes, actually, that horror is for everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean that there is something for each person in the genre. If you haven't found it yet, it's still out there waiting for you. And it's waiting for you to discover it. So for me, horror is the most human of genres. And the reason why I believe that is mentioned in an interview with someone who Jennifer McMahon mentioned, Becky Spratford, who's an author and editor and a member of the Horror Writers Association, which is one of the sponsors of the Summer Scares program. So I just want to read something that she said. She answered a question by saying, "I think that the deepest emotional function of horror is in building empathy. At its most basic, empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Horror as a genre does not work if the reader cannot connect with the characters who are in mortal peril, who are struggling, who are being attacked, whatever the antagonist is in a specific story. If the reader cannot understand what the protagonist is struggling, first step, and then feel that fear, unease, and terror, the book is a failure."
I would just say if you haven't dip your toes in. Just try a summer scares read, Make it part of your reading challenge or something. I think that when Jennifer McMahon was talking about how it's a really great place to face your fears, reading about these scary things in a safe space is not only great for kids and teens, but also great for adults.
And adults definitely, you don't have to stick to the adult horror books.
Correct.
If you want to try, dip your toes in with the garlic and the vampire, middle grade book.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this summer, come visit the library. Librarians are waiting to put books in your hands. We want to answer your questions. We want you to come in and ask us questions about, if you come in and say, I'm interested in a book about haunted dolls or something like that, or vampires, come and ask us. And we are excited about finding books for you, books that you'll love.
Absolutely. That is our favorite part of the job, is putting books in hands.
Absolutely.
Finding things that people would, like to read.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. This is great. We love it.
Well, I will close us out with a quote from The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, the book mentioned in the episode's title. There was nothing in the room the next minute, but the sunshine and a sense that I must stay. Thanks for listening, and join us next month for the next episode of Important Library Stuff.